Representation has not been such a good idea either. Good morning, everyone. My name is Gilbert Carmona. I'm an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is a person enrolled with the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, to help you prepare taxes, to deal with tax matters. I do all kinds of financial planning, estate planning, tax returns, tax issue resolution. If it's got something to do with taxes, ultimately with money, I can help you with it. My telephone number, if you need to reach me at my office, is 828-289-9300. Again, 828-289-9300. I am here on the air live for the next hour, and I think it was a surprise to everybody that I was going to be here. I know it surprised Todd when he got that phone call yesterday.
It's actually a text.
You got a text, not even a phone call. A text saying that Gilbert will be back. I had wanted to come back last week, but we had some technical difficulties. I didn't want to give up another Saturday morning, but we're here. I wanted to come because there's a lot of deadlines due. There's a lot of things happening, and you have this Saturday and next Saturday, and tax season ends October 15th. That's the regular tax season for people that have filed extensions. If you filed an extension, you have till October 15th to get that tax return filed, to be timely filed. And we've been getting a lot of phone calls, and a lot of people have called and said, when is the deadline again? And I thought, I better give Jim a call. I better go get on the air. Well, because of all the extensions is what I think, is because of all the extensions, there's been a lot of confusion about when the actual deadline is. Now, corporations, partnerships, S-corps, LLCs that file as an S-corp, your deadline was September 15th. And if you haven't gotten those done, you have better get it done. The penalty is $185 a month per partner. In a partnership, S-corp member, the fees and the penalties just for late filing add up really quick. So if you have not filed your S-corp LLC, it was due September 15th. You better get it done before October 15th, because after October 15th, it's going to rack up another month. And if you've got a lot of partners in your partnership, those fees really get large really fast. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about deadlines. There's a couple of them coming up. I'm going to talk about payroll taxes. I'm going to share a story about a man, a president of a company. It's kind of a sad story, but there's a lesson in it. He had an employee embezzle. Do you believe that, Todd? That employee would do that? Would steal money, but the money they embezzled was the withholding money. That's how this employee was able to hide it. So I'm going to get into that, and there's a couple of lessons to be learned from that story. I'm going to talk about Roth IRAs. Roth IRAs. The reason I want to talk about Roth IRAs is about 10, 11, 12 years ago, there was a big push to convert your traditional IRA to a Roth. There was some tax incentives at that time to do that. A lot of people took advantage of that, and now these people are in their mid to late 60s cashing in those IRAs, and some of them are a little surprised it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. And then, oh, Todd, then I'm going to talk. You know what I'm going to talk about next after that? This is exciting, Todd. I'm going to talk about depreciation. I know. That woke you right up. Yes, depreciation. Ready, set, depreciate. I'm going to talk about depreciation, and it's important for you business owners, especially end of the year. If you're looking to make some purchases because you made money and you can use depreciation. Now, I have two offices. One is at 113 Whiteside Road, right up the street from the studio here in Rutherfordton. The other one is at 226 South Trade Street in Tryon, North Carolina. The beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon. And, beautiful in the fall. Tryon is beautiful in the fall. All the leaves change there. I love that little town. So we have an office there. So if you need to see me, the best thing to do is call the office, make an appointment. You can call 828-289-9300. Okay, now if you're into emailing, you can email me at gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. But give me a call and we can set up an appointment. I've been gone. How long have I been gone, Todd? 6 months. A little bit less than 6 months, actually. 5.5 months. Yeah, normally I try to come back a little bit earlier, but we've been very, very busy, and I just kept pushing it back, and people kept asking me, when are you going to come back on the air? So I finally decided I need to do this because there is a lot of tax planning that we're going to be getting into the end of this year. There is a lot of tax law changes that are coming. I don't like to start talking about specific things in this budget until we actually get a budget. In other words, right now there's a lot of talk. How many trillions of dollars are they looking to spend? What's it up to now, Todd? 3.5. 3.5 trillion. You remember when the senator from Illinois, Dirksen, said in his famous speech, and he said this back in the 80s, he said, $1 billion here and $1 billion there. And pretty soon you're talking about real money. Today we're talking about $1 trillion. $1 trillion here and $1 trillion there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible that our budget is up to that. So what's next? Quintillion? No. I actually did a program on this, on what they were. Quintillion, septillion, quadrillion. Yeah, where does it stop? Where does it stop? It's just putting zeros behind everything. But what happens is, when you just put zeros after everything, it just raises the price of everything. People don't believe that we would ever have that kind of inflation here in the United States. But when you have fast food restaurants paying $19 an hour, and not because of a federal law, they just can't find help. I mean, it's become the new American pastime, driving up to your restaurant and hoping it's open. Hoping that, is it going to be open? Let's drive by. Before it used to be, are they going to have my favorite special? Are they going to have my favorite sandwich? Now are they going to be open? Where do you want to go, honey? All of them. We'll find one that's open. It's never have we seen anything like this. But when you have this happen, the price of everything goes up because it has to. They're going to make their money. Corporations are going to make their money, or they will shut down. It's that simple. We saw it. We're seeing it. We've seen it in California. California passed laws that we're not going to arrest people that shoplift. So, they didn't pass laws. They just said we're not going to arrest people that shoplift. So what happened? People start walking into these stores and just shoplifting. Well, it's not even shoplifting anymore. It's just blatant. They walk in, they grab a bunch of stuff, and walk out the door. It's not even shoplifting when they try to, hide it. They're not even hiding it. I believe they're not even going to send the police if it's under $1,000 or something like that. So the stores closed. Just closed their doors. They said, we can't make money. We're going to close. And the governor said, no, you have to open, or I'm going to sue you, I guess, or something. And the CEO of one of them said, you're kidding me, right? You're going to make me be open, and then you're going to let people just come in and steal all the stuff. No, we're going to be closing those stores. So, and that's what will happen, and that's what is happening. So it's not something we're going to see. But who would have thought that we would see this kind of, hyperinflation? I have in my office, a $10 billion bill from Zimbabwe. And I have it. I really should just put it up on my wall. But I have it in a nice little plastic holder. A client of mine gave it to me many years ago. In Zimbabwe, they had so much inflation that all they did was they took their currency, and so that they wouldn't have to spend money on new dies, they just kept adding zeros and changing what it said. So I think they call their money dollars. Their money dollars. I don't remember what they called it. But so they just had, where it said, 100, they just made it 100 million. So they actually, the last time I looked, Zimbabwe had a $100 trillion bill. And when my client gave me this, he gave me this $10 billion bill. So there's one bill worth $10 billion. In Zimbabwe, it bought you like a loaf of bread, a chicken, and a half a tank of gas. That was like, it was worth like $12.95 in the United States. So they had hyperinflation. And people laugh and say, oh, that's Africa. No, that's happening here. It's really funny because it used to be people would come and pay with 20s. Now you see people paying with 50s and 100s. 50s are the new 20. So it's like people don't even carry. I mean, who even carries ones and fives anymore? It's not, everything's 10s, 20s, and 50s. And you see it. They're eliminating change. You could change, meaning coins. It's like not even. I went someplace the other day and they rounded up. They were rounding up and rounding down so they wouldn't have to give me change. So that's great. I had no problem with it because I think they rounded down. So this one was in my favor, just to give me even change. They don't even want to handle change anymore. That's the byproduct of inflation. So we're having a lot of this. You were right earlier when you said, who knows what Gilbert will talk about. Gilbert's going to talk about a little bit of everything. So we're having this budget, we're having this inflation, and what's going to follow when inflation goes up? Todd, what's the program about? Taxes. Taxes are going to go up. If anybody that's been watching this budget, there is nowhere in the budget that taxes are going down. There's no tax cut. There's no tax relief anywhere. They're not even trying to call it tax relief. There's a couple of schemes in there too where they're going to lower the inheritance tax, and they're trying to put a positive spin on that. But I've talked about this before. Trump raised the. See, you knew I was going to get Trump in there somewhere. You knew it. I was going to get Trump in there somewhere. Trump raised the estate. The estate tax used to be $5 million. Trump raised it to $10 million, which is really where it should be. It should be, that number should be going up, not down, because the states are getting bigger, and with inflation, I've spoken about this before. A $2-3 million estate is not such an uncommon thing anymore. It used to be. I mean, $1 million was a lot of money. I've shared the story about Uncle Marvin 100 times. Uncle Marvin died. He was a mill worker here in the county, and when he died, he left 5 heirs, $1.3 million. Nobody knew Uncle Marvin had any money. One of Uncle Marvin's heirs said to me, I wish I would have known he had some money. I would have been nicer to him. I said, well, at least you're honest. But so it's not that much. Of course, he never spent a penny, and he saved everything. But I'm seeing this more and more. People come to me. My parent passed away. My uncle passed away. I'm the executor of this estate, and I'm looking at the numbers on the estate, and I'm seeing a lot more bigger estates, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. A lot of it is because of the increased value of homes that might have been worth, $120,000 even a few years ago. It's not uncommon for these homes to be over $250,000, close to $300,000 now. So we're seeing these estates go up. So they'll lower this, but that's just another way of increasing taxes. That's all it is. And what happens when you have inflation? More taxes. So your sales tax is up, everything is up. So right now is a time, and I'm saying all this to give you some hope. Now is a time to really do some good tax planning, some good estate planning. Sit down and look at what you're doing. Anything you did 20 years ago really needs, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, really needs to be reviewed. And I'm not an attorney, so I'm not asking you to come to me for this, but I really, really, really want you to stop and pull out your will. If you've had your will done a long time ago, dust that thing off and find you an attorney that does wills, not an attorney that does everything and wills. Find an attorney that does maybe not just wills, but that wills and estates and things are a big part of their business. There's plenty of them out there. They're not hard to find. But get an attorney that focuses on that, that's going to be up to date on the laws, going to be up to date on what's happening. Because I've seen a lot of bad wills written, and I've seen a lot of bad estates written. So, and even if it's a simple, I don't have much. No, you want to leave as clean an estate as possible, especially with just the environment we're in. So I'm saying all that to encourage you. to encourage everybody that now is really a good time for planning. Now is a good time to stop and look at what you're doing. I want to, before we take a break, Todd, did we get our commercials lined up in there? Are we?
No, you got. I got NC Tractor.
You got a commercial.
A commercial.
A commercial. We'll find some more. So do I need to do these all live? We'll find some commercials. Todd, my engineer this morning. Todd, I'm so glad to be back. I'm so glad to have you here. I really am. He is really a hardworking man. You should see him feverishly on that keyboard doing stuff. This is actually a hard job. It is not just sitting here talking into a microphone. Okay, while Todd is feverishly engineering, I want to, speaking of feverishly engineering, you got us up. I didn't welcome our people that are live streaming.
Yeah, we're going.
I'm so sorry. There are people live streaming. www.wcab59.com. I didn't forget in 5 months. Those of you can see me live in the Blue Room, and I am wearing my vintage gold tie this morning. Look great, by the way. Todd, good job. Those of you, thank you very much. And those of you that will listen to this later on the rebroadcast or listen to it, to pick it up on the internet, thank you again. Feel free to give me a call. So before we take a break and listen to those commercials that Todd is looking for, I want to share something from the Bible that I can't take credit for this. My wife actually had this for me, and I want to share it with everybody. There's just a lot going on. There's a lot going on, and I was getting a little wobbly with some things, and I was talking to my wife, the ever fabulous, hardworking Christy. Those of you that have seen her at the office know what I'm talking about. She is a hardworking person. And she said, I said, I'm feeling a little wobbly. Remember when Margaret Thatcher said that to George Bush? She said, George, now is not the time to go wobbly. So I was feeling a little wobbly with some things. And she said, let me share with you what I read in the Bible last night. And it was perfect for what I needed to hear. And I thought this morning this might be perfect for somebody out there. It's in Mark 5:21, and I'm going to go ahead and read it through the end. So Mark 5:21 to the last verse, which is 43. I'm saying this now, Todd, ahead of time, because people I know call you later and say, what was that scripture Gilbert shared? So I'm getting that out first. Mark 5:21 to 43. And this is a great story. It's actually two stories, but this is great. In 21, and when Jesus had recrossed in the boat to the other side, a great throng gathered about him, and he was at the lakeshore. Then one of the rulers of the synagogues came up, Jairus by name, and seeing him, he prostrated himself at his feet and begged him earnestly, saying, my little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, that she may be healed and live. And Jesus went with him, and a great crowd kept following him and pressed him from all sides, as almost to suffocate him. And there was a woman who had a flow of blood for 12 years, and who had endured much suffering under the hands of many doctors, haven't we all, and had spent all that she had, and was no better, but instead grew worse. She had heard reports concerning Jesus, and she came up behind him in the throng and touched his garment. For she kept saying, if I only touch his garments, I shall be restored to health. And immediately her flow of blood was dried up at the source. And suddenly she felt in her body that she was healed of her ailment. And Jesus, recognizing in himself that the power proceeding from him had gone forth, turned around immediately in the crowd and said, who touched my clothes? And the disciples kept saying to him, you see the crowd pressing hard around you from all sides, and you ask who touched me? Still he kept looking around to see her who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had been done for her, though alarmed and frightened and trembling, fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, daughter, your faith, your trust, your confidence in me has restored you to health. Go in peace and be continually healed and freed from your disease. While he was still speaking, there came some from the ruler's house who said to Jairus, your daughter has died. Why bother and distress the teacher any further? Overhearing but ignoring what they said, Jesus said to the ruler of the synagogue, do not be seized with alarm and struck with fear. Only keep on believing. And he permitted no one to accompany him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they arrived at the house of the ruler of the synagogue, he looked carefully and with understanding at the people weeping and wailing loudly. And when he had gone in, he said to them, why do you make uproar and weep? The little girl is not dead, but is sleeping. And they laughed and jeered at him. But he put them all out. And taking the girl's father and mother and those that were with him, he went up to where the little girl was lying, gripping her firmly by the hand. He said to her, Talitha Kumi, translated, this means little girl, I say to you, arise from the sleep of death. And suddenly the girl got up and started walking, for she was 12 years old, and they were utterly astonished and overcome with amazement. And he strictly commanded and warned them that no one should know this, and he expressly told them to give her something to eat. And what I felt was for me, and what I felt that God was speaking to me, is only keep on believing. You know, I don't want to get into the whole story about what had happened, but there were some things, and there were some things that I know specifically God had put in my heart to do, and there were some things that I was needing to do. And I was just getting wobbly about the whole thing. And so the word of the Lord for me on that was, keep on believing. Only keep on believing. So I'm saying that to encourage people, because there's a lot of bad news out there. And even it's hard to even find good news. You have to go look for some good news right now. You have to go find good news. It's not like everywhere you look. And things may be getting worse. I don't know. Nobody can tell what the future will bring. Nobody knows what today will bring. Nobody. You know, there's a lot of prophets out there. They're called celebrities. They're called journalists. They're called news reporters. They're called politicians, these prophets. And they'll tell you they know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen except one, God, and he's blessed forever. So I want to just encourage people. Only keep on believing. Todd, let's go ahead and take that break. And we're going to come back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
People come up to me and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return, and thank you for getting me that big refund. Do you have any ideas what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I do. Take that refund right over to NC Tractor and Farm Supply, talk to Phil, get you a brand new shiny red Massey Ferguson. That's NC Tractor and Farm Supply, Railroad Avenue. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. By the way, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. I'm hoping he'll give me a discount when I go buy my brand new shiny Massey Ferguson tractor. This is Gilbert. I've made a career out of helping businesses. Something else that can help businesses is a good sign. Let me tell you about DS Signs and Graphics right here in Spindale. Whether it's outdoor signage, banners, printing, or promotional items, call Alex at 828-286-4900. And remember, a good sign is good business.
Back. We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes. Because, as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea either. Those of you that need to reach me can call me, 828-289-9300. We are a live program here. If you have a tax question, please feel free to call the studio. And Todd, that number is 828-287, tell me, 3356. Call 287-3356, and you can ask your question. And I'm going to get into, let me talk about these Roth IRA withdrawals. Let me just get into that real quick, because I'm seeing a lot of this, and a lot of people are going to be taking their RMDs. What is an RMD? A required minimum distribution. So when you have an IRA, basically, and I'm dumbing this way down, because I get a call from people that spend too much time on the internet, and they know a lot of stuff more in depth. But for the people that don't, that aren't about all of this, that just want to put a little money away. There's two types of IRAs. IRAs are individual retirement accounts. Okay? The government passed a lot of IRA laws because they wanted people to have money other than Social Security. This was back in the 80s, 90s. They realized that most people were depending on Social Security only to be there. And Social Security is going to be there. I get a lot of phone calls from panicked people that might have seen something on the internet or somewhere. Somebody told them their next door neighbor's friend's mailman said that he heard stories like that. That Social Security is not going to have any money. No, it's going to have money. Right now, estimates are saying Social Security is fully funded. I've heard estimates from 2035 to 2037 to 2042, the years 2035, 2037, 2042. Social Security is fully funded. Now, next year, they're talking about Social Security getting a cost of living increase bump because of inflation. And the last number I heard was about 6.75%, which is huge. Normally, Social Security increases are 2%, 1.25%. There were years during the Obama administration when we had a flat growth economy, zero inflation. There were years that Social Security didn't go up at all. So, and that's just whatever the economy is, it does that. So next year it's supposed to go up by 6.75%, but that's just to keep up with inflation. That's just to keep up with the cost of food and the cost of gasoline and the cost of living and these taxes that are going to go up. So Social Security will be there. What's going to happen to the fund, we don't know exactly, but it is there. The government will not let that collapse. There is money there put aside for it. Okay. The government wanted people to have supplemental. A lot of businesses got away from pensions, which pretty much a pension is a non-existent thing anymore. Not the way it used to be, where people had, these huge pensions. You worked for a company for 30 or 40 years and you were guaranteed your income for the rest of your life. Those things are gone. So now they've been supplemented with 401k plans, SEP plans, Simple, which is the name of the plan, Simple plans. So these things. So the government wanted people to put money away. So they created these laws. There's actually a man who gets credited for the whole IRA concept, and Roth, which is a man's name, Roth, came up with the Roth IRA. Okay, so there are two kinds. There's a traditional IRA, and there is a Roth IRA. Traditional IRA says that you put money in an account, and it's tax favored. What does tax favored mean? You won't pay income tax on that amount of money. Okay? For most individuals, the maximum that you can put away, $6,000. If you're over 55, another $1,000, make it $7,000. Okay? You can put in there tax free. The way it works is when you do your tax return, I reduce, when you bring me your tax return and you tell me, oh, Gilbert, I put $6,000, or any amount. That's the maximum you can put in right now. It changes from year to year. So it used to be $5,500, it used to be $5,000. Now it's where we're at. And you say, oh, Gilbert, I put $6,000 in a traditional IRA. I then put that on your tax return. Okay? The people that you opened up the IRA with, which I do that also. I also do those kind of investments. So if I opened up your IRA for you, I would put your money in whatever type of account we agreed on. They would report it to the IRS, so the IRS knows, yes, you in fact did this. Then they will reduce your taxable income by $6,000. Okay, so it reduces your taxable income. That money is put away tax-free, or qualified, as we say, it's qualified, tax-free money. Okay, then that money goes in there. Now, there's a couple of hooks with this IRA, this traditional IRA. Because you put it away tax-free, the government at some point wants their tax money, okay? They're not going to let you kick the can up the road forever. So what happens is, at age 72, they raised it last year to age 72. It used to be 70 and a half. Now it's 72. At age 72, you have to start taking this money out. You have to start pulling money out of your account It's called a required minimum distribution. And there's a formula for your age, and there's a formula. And they'll tell you how much, what percentage you're supposed to take out. It's not a huge amount of money. It's not like you got to take out a third of it or anything. It's actually not that much. But you have to take it out and pay taxes on it. That's when you pay taxes on it. The theory was, excuse me, sip of water, that when you're at that age, 70 and a half, it used to be, now it's 72, you're going to be in retirement, you're not going to be working, and the only other income you're going to have is Social Security or possibly a work-related. You may have something from a job, or you may have an annuity, or you may have some other type of private pension. So you're going to be in a much lower tax bracket. That was the theory. What we've seen happen in the last 10 years is that people aren't retiring at full retirement age for a lot of reasons. Some of them just can't financially. Others are just in really good health. They're 67, 65, whatever your full retirement age is, some even a little earlier, and they're saying, well, I don't want to retire. I don't have to retire. They can work, and they keep working. I've got many people that are working because they want to, whether it's part-time, full-time, or we've got a lot of people doing a career change. I've had a lot of clients that have retired from their regular jobs and then have gone back, meaning their jobs they had for a long time, and they've gone and gotten into something completely different. And they like what they're doing, and they're working. I had one man, I saw him at Lowe's, and I said, hey, you're working at Lowe's. He said, oh, I love it here. I love tools, and I get to be around them all day long. He just thinks it's the greatest thing. He was so happy to have a job at Lowe's. And so they're doing that. So the theory was that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket, and your tax on this IRA, money that you now have to take out with this RMD, is going to be a lower tax bracket than you were working. Okay, so that's not been the case anymore. And then the other hook into it is that at age 59 and a half, if you take this money out before 59 and a half, you have to pay a 10% penalty. Okay, now that's only at the federal level. You don't pay that penalty at the state level. At the state level, you just pay the tax. Okay, but at the federal level, there's a 10% penalty for taking that money out before 59 and a half. Now, last year, because of, for whatever reason, I really still don't know what their thinking was on this. I guess people that were out of work, they waived that 59 and a half rule, but that was only for last year. Okay, there is a 10% penalty for taking money out before 59 and a half. So those are the two hooks with it. Well, with a Roth IRA, you don't put the money away tax-free. Okay, you're going to pay tax on that money, and then you're going to put it in the IRA, the Roth IRA. Okay. What is the advantage of the Roth IRA then? When you take the money out, you don't pay any tax on the gain. So basically, Mr. Roth figured out that, wait a minute, why can't we do the opposite? Why can't we exempt the gain? And Congress passed this. It seemed good to them. And they passed it because at the time, people weren't making the kind of ridiculous money that they've been making lately in the stock market. So these plans have really been making a lot of money. They have just shot up. And when you look at the numbers, a Roth IRA for a lot of people made more sense than it did in prior years. Again, this is all individual. You got to look at it. I'm not telling you to run out and get a Roth IRA. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm just telling you the facts of the matter, okay? I don't want people to say, I want a Roth IRA because Gilbert said to get one. No, I'm not telling anybody to do that. I'm just telling you what the facts are. So back in 2010, right after we'd had the housing market collapse, a lot of things happened. There were a lot of people looking at Roths, and the government had some tax breaks for shifting your money over to Roth, and a lot of people did that, and it made sense for a lot of them. I remember doing a lot of tax returns where people had made the conversion. They went ahead and paid the taxes on their traditional IRAs, and converted them to Roths. Now those people are pulling that money out of those Roths, and some of them are a little surprised at what they're running into. So I just wanted to go over about how these withdrawals are taxed. And people think that Roth IRA withdrawals are federal income tax free. Well, they are to a point, so that's not necessarily true. Some withdrawals are taxable. Even worse, some people were shocked that there was a 10% early withdrawal penalty tax. So that can happen even if there's no income tax hit. If you're under 59.5 and you pull your money out, you're still going to get that 10% penalty hit with the Roth IRA. So let me get into what you need to know about Roth IRA withdrawals under the federal income tax rules. Now I'm going to have just a simple case scenario. So any withdrawals from your Roth IRAs are federal income tax free qualified withdrawals if you, as the Roth IRA owner, are 59.5 or older, and you have at least one IRA, one Roth IRA, got to be open for over 5 years. So a lot of people, you tell them there's a 5-year rule, and they just nod and say okay, and then 3 years later they try to pull that money out. Such withdrawals are usually state income tax free also, by the way. Okay, but you must pass both the age and the 5-year test for a qualified withdrawal. The 5-year period for determining whether your withdrawals are qualified starts on January 1st of the first tax year in which you make a Roth contribution or you did a Roth rollover. It can be a regular annual contribution or a conversion contribution. It can be either, but that 5-year clock starts January 1st of that year, okay? So when you take a qualified Roth withdrawal, you will receive a Form 1095-A from the IRA trustee or custodian. I have had people not know that because they just assume the Roth has no tax implication. They didn't think they were going to get any paperwork. Yes, there's paperwork. There's always paperwork, Todd. Box 1 of the Form 1099-R should report the gross amount of the withdrawal. Usually Box 2B will be checked to indicate that the trustee or the custodian, that's the person that actually held the money, has not determined the taxable amount, if any. But if the trustee or custodian knows the withdrawal was a qualified withdrawal, then Box 2A should report the taxable amount. So those are the only two numbers that are going to be on that 1099-R. If it's truly a tax-free withdrawal, you're going to have a number in Box 1, a number in Box 2A. Box 2A should report a taxable amount of 0, and Box 7 should contain a qualification code of Q. That is the letter Q. Q for Queen. You enter the total amount of the qualified withdrawal on your 1040 form, and there's a 0 amount on line 4B. Okay, so simple, right? So the rules for non-qualified withdrawals are not so simple. Okay, a non-qualified withdrawal that is subject to federal income tax. In addition, these non-qualified withdrawals taken before the age of 59.5 are subject to the 10% early withdrawal penalty tax. Withdrawals that are non-qualified because they're under the age of 59.5, and withdrawals that are not qualified because you have not passed the 5-year test. Again, 5 years. You got to wait 5 years before you start doing anything. And so if you're thinking about doing a Roth conversion, please be aware of that. Okay? You've got to wait 5 years. So you have to ask yourself, am I going to need, or will I potentially need this money? If there's any possibility you're going to need this money in the next 5 years, I would advise you, if we were having a one-on-one meeting and discussing this, I would advise you to really consider it. Because 10% is a lot of money. And there's no waiving that. That's 10%. That's it. Now are we due for a break? Yeah. We're due for a break. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about 2 key points about annual contributions and taxable portions of conversions. And this stuff gets deep. I'm going to wade deep here, Todd. Are we ready for that this morning? Let's wade deep into this. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
As we get ready for this year's tax season, There's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous. I want to tell you about another great local business, Forest City Concrete and Grading. Call Sean at 828-447-5949. Sean is a licensed general contractor. He can do your job from site development to completion. That's Forest City Concrete and Grading. Call Sean at 828-447-5949 and tell him Gilbert Talks Taxes sent you.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes. WCAB AM 590 FM 100.9. So I'm wading into the deep end of the pool with this. These Roth IRAs, and they're complicated stuff. If you want to discuss this again one-on-one, because a lot of it is what do you need to do for your situation. You want to discuss Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, and the tax implication thereof, give me a call, 828-289-9300. You can make an appointment, schedule my time, bring me your information, and we can talk about it. If you're thinking that there may be a tax advantage to converting your IRA to a Roth IRA, we can discuss that. You're thinking about starting to pull money out. You're coming closer to retirement. You're in retirement. And you want to have just another set of eyes look at what you have. I love doing this. Give me a call, 828-289-9300. We can make an appointment. The key note is that there are layers that we have to get through as you're structuring your RMDs and you're structuring how much tax you're going to have to pay, because there actually are limits. There's annual contribution factors. There's the taxable portion of conversion contributions, and I'm not going to get into all that. That's really the deep end. That's the technical stuff that puts everybody to sleep. And Todd, I told you to tell everybody to put a pot of coffee on before I got on the air. Did you tell them earlier? Put a pot of coffee on it and get ready to have coffee with Gilbert, because they're going to need it this morning. And there's a taxable portion of a conversion if you did one, and there's a non-taxable portion of a conversion. And then, if that wasn't enough, we have account earnings. Oh, yeah, because we have to calculate what might be taxable, what's not taxable. So it's not this straight-up thing that, I got a Roth, I don't have to worry about it. The key point, and also, one other key point, if you have several Roth IRAs, and people do, they might have had one at one job, gone to another job, created another one there, because you can have multiple accounts. I had a client that had 3. I said, thank you. I mean, it was so complicated, I created a spreadsheet just to keep up with it. So there were several, if you have several Roth IRAs, you must aggregate. We aggregate them, which is a averaging formula, and treat them as a single account to determine which layer or layers each withdrawal comes from and the resulting federal income tax consequences. So the key takeaway from this conversation, and I may get into this again because I'm having more and more people ask me about this, is the key walk away is don't assume just because you have a Roth IRA that you're going to have no tax problem. Okay? And especially if it's a recent thing you did, or if it's a Roth you did a long time ago, especially when people did the conversions back in 2009, 10, there was a lot of Roth conversions done. There was a federal law that helped those. If you did that, you could have a tax problem and not even know it. Again, and if you're under 59 and a half, which we've had some people taking money out. So, so we've got some complicating factors, is what the IRS calls these. Complicating factors. And there are, you can, especially if you can take $10,000 out. This is a whole other topic. I could do a whole program on this. You can take $10,000 out for a first-time homeowner, purchase. And first-time homeowner doesn't necessarily mean first time. There's a window there that resets, and you could be considered a first-time homeowner more than one time. So $10,000 you can pull out. That's tax-free. Well, if you have a Roth, that doesn't necessarily apply. So there's some other things that kick in there. There's a Form 8606. Anyway, I'm going to get into more of that as we go on, because this is a subject I want to get into more. But if you've got questions, Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, please give me a call. And your tax implication of them. If you've changed jobs and you have 401k money that may or may not be sitting in a Roth, but you have 401k money, you're wondering what to do with that, or the advice you're getting you're maybe not settled with, because a lot of times they tend to give you, they may not give you the whole picture. Let me just say it that way. And they don't know your tax implication. I do. That's what I do. Taxation and the investment implications, the tax implications of investments. Give me a call, 828-289-9300. Todd, let's get back on schedule here. Let us take this is going to be our last break. Let's take our last break, and when I come back, I'm going to talk about poor Timothy, who was embezzled. He got embezzled. His company got embezzled, and it is a whole story. But there is a few lessons to be learned there. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone, offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com, and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's Integrity Marble and Granite.
We are back. We are back for our first show back. We're back multiple ways here. We're back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. Those of you live streaming, thank you, welcome. That you are live streaming, www.wcab59.com. Why couldn't Jim get the 0 on that? 590.com? He couldn't get it? Okay. I don't know why, but we're looking good here in the Blue Room. Thank you. I will be back. I will be back now through, Todd, right into tax season, because I am just thinking there is going to be that much going on with these tax law changes. I think we're going to have a heavy December. And I think my tax planning people out there, my self-employed businessmen out there, I think we are going to be busy. It is going to be, we're going to be hopping like on a hot sidewalk, like on an Atlanta sidewalk in June. Okay. It's going to be, this is just what I'm thinking. I want to be ready for it. I mean, I hope it's not. I hope it's a simple transition, but we are going to see some tax law changes. Okay, I'm going to tell a quick story. The point of the story is to show that you businessmen out there, you need to be aware of what's going on with your bookkeeping. Now, we do bookkeeping also, and I always like to report bookkeeping to the owners or whoever those designated people are. The P&L, the balance sheets, get them real-time reporting. That's the reason you have bookkeeping. Bookkeeping's not, most people think of bookkeeping as just for the tax return. Okay, let's get all the bookkeeping done for the tax return. But those of you businessmen that watch your cash flow, you watch your employee expenditures, you watch your inventory expenditures, those of you know how critical bookkeeping is. But some people don't. And that is the story of poor Timothy. He's the president and sole shareholder of a business, and he delegated all the financial responsibility to Kathleen. By the way, these are real first names. Okay? Kathleen was his bookkeeper and chief financial officer, by the way. So, Kathleen decided to help herself to some of the money. Being the bookkeeper and the chief financial officer, she helped herself to $800,000. Okay? And how did she do that and not get caught? Because she did not, or the way she did it, is she failed to remit employee withholding taxes to the IRS for 19 quarters. 19 quarters. That's 4 years and 9 months, Todd. 19 quarters. She did not send the withholding tax. So what she did is she prepared all the withholding, everything like you normally do. And instead of just sending that check to the IRS, which is what we do, she decided to put that check in her pocket. Okay, so once poor Timothy became aware of the magnitude of Kathleen's embezzlement, he pretty much knew he was going to lose his business, and that's what happened. He talked about bankruptcy with his lawyer, but let me tell you what happens is you cannot declare bankruptcy on withholding. See, withholding is not your money. Okay? Withholding is your employee's money. You're just a fiduciary. You're just a responsible party taking that money and sending it to the IRS. You're just a remitter. The IRS just sees you. That's the sole function that they see you as. So he discussed bankruptcy. It really wasn't going to work for him. So he just decided to pay off all his creditors. The company sold all their inventory, $250,000. He paid off a loan he had to the local bank because he had personally guaranteed it. Then he had to get all the tax forms current because Kathleen not only took the money, she didn't submit the tax forms either. And that's why I think as I was reading the story, I was like, well, at what point did the IRS not start flagging this guy? Because they're pretty on top of this. This is major, especially the kind of payroll this guy's got that he was able to in 4.75 years and 19 quarters, she was able to take $800,000. This was a pretty substantial payroll. Usually the IRS on it. Well, she didn't submit the forms. So Kathleen knew what she was doing. So he got all the forms current for the 19 quarters. Got to figure out how much you owe the IRS before you can even start paying them. And the IRS then got on top of it. Penalties, statutory additions, accrued interest, and other costs were $325,000. There is a 100% penalty for not paying the IRS on this. So he began to wind down his business, and he paid $828,000. These numbers are arbitrary here. $829,000 to his creditors, and he was only able to remit $51,000 to the IRS. Now, he thought that he was doing okay. Really, he did this backwards. He should have paid the IRS first, because the way they see it, it's not your money. So basically, even though he was embezzled, and by the way, this was a legitimate, the guy was honestly done wrong. The IRS has no mercy. They don't care. Okay? They actually have a no excuse policy. So the point of the story, if you own and are active in your business, you are personally responsible to make sure that payroll taxes are paid. Neither the IRS nor the law allows excuses. And then, by the way, then you have the state involved too. This program goes out all over the country. So there's 10 states that don't have state income tax. So you guys don't have to worry about it. Locally, I deal with Florida, Tennessee, and Texas a lot. They don't have state income tax. There's others. You don't have to worry about it at the state level. But here in North Carolina, you do. And North Carolina is brutal about that withholding. It's not your money. It's the employee's money. And when the employee does their tax return and they put that W-2 information on there, the state will give them money that the state, because they get a refund maybe. It's money that the state never got. So they're going to come after their share of it, okay? So state law. But there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Timothy should have known, okay? Now, he learned that the fraud of the employees does not excuse him or his corporation from paying the payroll, okay? And there are some details here. Actually, there was $1 million fraud filed against him because basically it's considered fraud. So you small business owners out there, don't think this couldn't happen to you, because you could have a payroll, and these numbers add up quick. You got to make sure this money's being paid. You got to make sure this money's being paid on time, okay? If you ask whoever's doing your payroll for proof that it's being paid and they can't give you that proof, you've got a problem. And I'm talking about absolute proof, okay? And look at the bank accounts and make sure the money's coming out. Now, we do payroll, and we have a lot of checks and balances in there with our reporting to you. Every time we do payroll, we tell you how much money is going to come out of your bank account. We tell you when it's going to come out, and we send you a report telling you what's coming out. Okay? Timothy here was just blindsided by this. But the important thing of the story is Timothy wasn't looking. He wasn't looking at his financial reports, and he wasn't looking at his bank statements to make sure this money was coming out. So what ended up happening to poor Timothy? Poor Timothy ended up losing everything. Okay? Personally, he was liable for $1 million to the IRS. And it's a sad story. It's a sad story. Kathleen, of course, has all her own, but hers is not with the IRS. She has her own tale of woe, but it's not with the IRS. Kathleen's problems are a civil matter. Timothy's taking her to court, but it appears that Kathleen, among other problems, had some personal issues, and that $800,000 is pretty much gone. What she did with it, how do you blow $200,000 a year? That's a lot of Gucci purses, but it seems that she likes spending that money. Okay, so you business owners, make sure you're getting that reporting. Make sure, especially if you're trusting somebody else to do this. Now, with us in payroll, we do everything through EFTPS. We do everything through you, and you're always aware. And I can't drive this point home. This has actually happened at a much smaller scale. People here that have come to me for help here locally, believe it or not. That's why I wanted to share this story. When I read the story, I said, I need to really share that with the people because it can get that out of control. And this guy, what you think, well, those numbers are big. He just didn't notice it. He just didn't notice it. I'm aware of several people that had some large-scale embezzlement that I've been able to help him get things sorted out with the IRS. But this poor guy, by the time he found out, he was $1.2 million in the hole, and he just did everything wrong to dig himself out. Okay, I've got how many minutes left, Todd?
1 minute.
I got 1 minute left. Todd, I was going to talk about depreciation.
Your time's appreciated.
My time depreciated. Oh, Todd, that was good. That was so good. Can I get a little appreciation here? Okay, depreciation. Folks, I'm going to come back next week and talk about this. If you're a business owner, we're coming. Actually, this is going to be a topic I'm going to be talking about quite a bit because now we're coming to the end of the year. And these business owners, this is the phone call I get every December. How much money did I make and what do I need to buy to not pay taxes? Okay, so just buying something's not good enough. How do we treat that thing? Because there are some things that you buy that you can't expense all in 1 year. You have to take depreciation. I'm going to talk about regular depreciation, bonus depreciation, Section 179 depreciation, which we call depreciation in advance. So I'm going to talk about the years you can depreciate, the limits. There's a lot on the table that they want to change. A lot of Trump's depreciation things are still going to be in place, which there was great bonus depreciation in there. That's going to be in place. That doesn't sunset till 2025. Then you're grandfathered in. So really the next couple of years, if you're looking to make any purchases, if you're looking for any asset acquisition, it's a good time. Give me a call, 828-289-9300. I'm going to get into this next week. Todd, my time is up. This has been Gilbert Talks Taxes. I will see you next Saturday at 8 a.m. Please get a pot of coffee, put it on, and get ready. Yeah, I'm going to bring my coffee too. And you have coffee with Gilbert. Thank you for listening. WCAB AM 590, FM 100.